powered by Early Ball, the colors of rock and roll.
Okay, cut. This guy doesn't need an introduction in the metal world. It's Matt from Valentine. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing also great because you guys got a great new album on the shelves right now. It's called Bullet for My Valentine. So Iron Maiden did it with their first album. Metallica did it with their fifth album. The German Halloween did it with the 16th album. Why is now for Bullet for My Valentine the right spot in time to do a self-titled record?
It just feels right, man. It's just the album sounds so confident and aggressive and assertive that it just feels like it's the definitive Bullet for My Valentine record, you know? It's yeah, it was just a suggestion that was made to us by a lot of people that had heard the album behind the scenes, like our management and stuff, and they were like, you know, this sounds like a big statement record, boys. Why don't you, I think it's time, you know? We do self-titled, man. And we were like, yeah, maybe it is time. So yeah, so there we go. You know, we love the record. We're super confident and super happy with how it's come out, and we just feel like it's the start of the next chapter for us. You know, we've done like what 15 odd years. This is our 7th record, and you know, it feels like the hunger and the motivation and the love is back. You know, which is good.
All right, so it's obvious, all killer and no filler album. 10 great tracks. When did you kick off the creative sessions for this one?
The process started in the spring of 2019, when we were off touring Gravity. When we had some downtime, we just made a decision to kind of not take too much time off, just to sit at home and do stuff. You know, it's great to have like a week off, but then we kind of get itchy feet to kind of just do something. So we just took it upon ourselves to just get to work, really. You know, we didn't go in there with the thought of we're writing the new record. It was just, let's get in the studio and let's just start writing some riffs and some tunes and throw some ideas down. And so that's what we did. So the process started in spring 2019, and then it was on and off all the way through to December 2019. And by December, then we knew where it was heading. We hadn't got any real finished songs, but we had some instrumental demos that really kind of opened the door to what the album is today. You know, so.
All right. So due to COVID-19, all your live activities, you know, were canceled. Nobody was playing live. So did this get you more spare time to make this composition so perfectly? It went on to Bullet for My Valentine.
Yeah, it's something that I've talked about a lot over the last week or so, and I've been doing a lot of interviews and stuff. That, you know, what COVID did bring to the Bullet table was time. You know, we like I said, we took that decision to start the process in 2019. You know, and now looking back with hindsight, you know, it was a really smart choice because, you know, we had to stop in March as the whole world did. You know, and we'd already kind of broken the door down in the direction. We hadn't finished the songs, we hadn't written the record by any means, but we knew where it was heading. And that's the hardest part of writing a record, you know, is finding out what's going on, what you do, where's this going, you know, finding that direction. So thankfully we'd found it by December. And yeah, obviously when COVID really took hold of the world, we weren't touring anyways in 2020. We were always taking it off to write and record this record. So it didn't really affect anything too badly for us, which was, you know, which was amazing because, you know, it's really fucked up a lot of people's kind of careers and lives, and, you know, music was no different to that. So yeah, so what it did give us was time, and it really was a positive kind of way of looking at what was being forced upon us with COVID, you know. So we just took our time, we just wrote as many songs as we could, and we had time to live with it, rewrite things, tweak things, and just really make sure it was the album that we really wanted to deliver this time. You know, we didn't have any deadlines, we didn't have any touring. It was like, just take our time, man. Let's just do something special here and really kind of focus on what this is.
Did you just work out these 10 songs for the album, or were there a bunch more songs you wrote for this record?
There was about 7 or 8 songs before we wrote Knives. So those 7 or 8 songs, they haven't even seen the light of day. They didn't even come into the album process. And after that, I think we've got another 6 songs written and recorded. And we're going to be releasing those post-record, you know, which are, some of them actually were written and recorded after the album was delivered as well. So they're arguably some of the best songs that we've ever written. And if we had written them prior, they would have been on the record. But it's kind of cool, we've got a lot of really like standout statement songs to come even after the album is in the rearview mirror, so it's exciting for us, man, because the album is, we think it's a phenomenal record, so to have even better songs coming after now is like, damn, it's going to be a strong cycle, man. So yeah, we're really excited.
Absolutely, I share this opinion about this material. Your songwriting style for this one, of course, we got the trademarks we know from Bullet for My Valentine, but then this time I think there are even more rhythmic changes in the songs, and it's absolutely amazing what you guys did. So how did you work this out? Because it's I think you have to put on a lot of effort and time in this, to make the rhythm changes and all this work so perfectly.
Yeah, most of it was just a natural thing. Thankfully, if you overthink about how you're going to write a song, it just, it's just never going to happen. Whatever happens has got to come up naturally. And once you've kind of got the basics of the song, then you can kind of get into fine tuning, kind of all that kind of good stuff, like the tempos and the grooves and the rhythms and all that stuff. So, but yeah, there's some very interesting structures on this song. There's some very interesting rhythm switches, 3s to 4s, 4s to 3. The album is, to most listeners, they won't be paying attention to any of the technical sides of the songwriting. They'll just be listening to the tracks and the riffs and just hopefully banging their heads.
Yeah.
As a songwriter and people that actually pay attention to that stuff, it's a pretty clever record. And there's a few songs in there which are pretty unusual, and they shouldn't technically work, but we've somehow managed to make them work. So yeah, it's good. It's a great record, man. There's a lot of interesting parts. If people are into dissecting records as well as listening to them, then this is a good one to listen to.
If you can guide the listeners from the Guitar Podcast, and of course, the readers of Guitar Magazine, through the composition process of a key track like Knives, from the first idea to the finished song, which way does it take?
It usually starts off just with me picking up a guitar and just kind of playing around, man. Just like not even thinking about it, just having a conversation with someone and just letting the fingers just do their thing, and all of a sudden something will jump out. I'll get my phone out, just put it down in voice memos, really basic stuff. There's no real complicated high tech way of how we write our music. It's just it's the simplest way is always the better. So that's how we do it. It's always music first, and it's usually guitars. And then when we get the opportunity to go into a studio, it's just literally pressing record, man, and just having fun, letting us, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And just having that confidence to not fail is really, really important in making music. You got to write, 5 shit songs to get one good one a lot of the time. That's kind of how it works. You've got to just keep on going, not get disheartened. And yeah, so the composition, it's always music, and then put down a basic version, like a verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then just try and come up with some vocal ideas and melodies, man. So there's no secret formula to it. It's just being creative, having fun, and not being afraid to kind of write a couple of crappy songs to get a couple of good ones either.
So the trick is you don't have any checklists. So you just start noodling around on the guitar, and this is the kickoff for each and every of your songs, or?
Pretty much, man. It sounds simple, but yeah, that's kind of how it is all written. It starts off with guitars, and it's very, very rarely anything else. Sometimes there's a vocal melody I'll have, which I'll keep in my head and try and obviously put that into choruses once the music is written as well. But yeah, it's really simple. It's kind of how I've always done it. I've always been a guitar player before a vocalist, so I kind of find it a far more natural way to write a song is by writing music and then putting vocals on top.
So what's your advice for young guitar players, especially metal composers, how they can sharpen the skills so they don't have to follow the way of a blueprint? Or
yeah, blueprints are never something I followed when I was growing up. Even learning the guitar, I never learned with a book. I never had a guitar teacher. I just put on records and just kind of worked it out, and sometimes it was difficult because at that point I didn't even understand that guitar players use different tunings and stuff, so I was learning it all weird, like on a standard tune fretboard, trying to play like Machine Head song in a concert pitch guitar was like how the fuck are they doing this, man? This is weird. But yeah, so like I didn't learn like you probably should learn. I would definitely recommend to young players, like I recommend to my son, he's playing guitar, and I'm trying to convince him that he's got to learn the foundations and the fundamentals first, because I kind of regret not doing that. It didn't like harm my guitar playing or like kind of hinder anything. But I think it's always good to have those foundations of chords and scales and notes and know exactly what is there. So when you want to go to it, you can just go to it rather than trying to find it for like half an hour or whatever. So yeah, so definitely just kind of just have fun. There's no blueprint. You don't have to kind of learn theory if you don't want to. As long as you've got a good ear, you can kind of work most of it out. It's just, I think, fun. Like for me growing up, I just loved the challenge of it, and I found it really fun, and I think that's kind of what made me stick at it. It would take 2 hours to learn a riff or something sometimes, but at the end of it, crank the amp up and play it loud. It's like, yes, this is the reward, and I still get that buzz to this day. It's the reward for putting in that hard work. It's just, I love that. So playing guitar isn't easy, but once you get it down, it's just so rewarding and enjoyable.
So I think this is the explanation for your versatile style, because it's kind of a kid in a heavy metal candy store, so to speak. You got this thrash metal things, and then you got hardcore, then perhaps some kind of new metal vibes and classic metal, and all this together with great melodies. I think you don't think too much about what you're doing, or you just play what you like to play.
That's what we've always done, man. We've always just done what we've wanted to do. We've never written songs by like a rule book, like the metal rule book. We've always just kind of I don't know, kind of mixed it up stylistically. I love traditional metal bands, always have, always will, like your Maidens and Metallica, and love all that. That's kind of the reason why I picked up a guitar. But then as things evolved, I got into bands like Pantera, Machine Head, Sepultura. And then things evolved even more into kind of more alternative rock, like Muse, Arctic Monkeys, even, all this mad shit, Korn and Limp Bizkit. Just, I don't know, man. So I just kind of take all that in, and whatever kind of made me want to listen to those music, it just comes out in my music. I like to have fun writing songs. Some of them are obviously a bit more intense and aggressive and serious, but deep down it comes from a good, fun-filled place. So, and I think that kind of adds to a good dynamic kind of song list and albums over the seventh record. I think it's good to kind of keep your mind open when it comes to writing songs. Some bands they just don't do it. They have their formula, their sound, and they just hammer it home.
Yeah,
great. Each to their own. But for me, I like to kind of push the limits a little bit of who I am as a songwriter and what Bullet is as a band. I always like to mix it up a little bit. It's fun.
And I think we hear it on the new album because you push the envelope every time a little bit further. That you don't repeat what you did on the last records or the prior record. So if we talk about heavy metal and stuff, what was the spark to the flame for you? What kicked it off to become a heavy metal maniac and become later, one of the most recognized guitar players in the recent past of heavy metal?
So, like, what started it all? Yeah, I think. I mean, there was literally one thing that started it all. Really, I mean, I always grew up listening to music. My dad he wasn't a musician, but he was a music fan, and his taste was rock, and kind of more kind of singer-songwritery stuff. So I grew up listening to, with no choice of my own. It was just always on in the living room, just playing in the background, like Led Zeppelin.
Oh, great.
Bob Seger, Bruce Springsteen, the Eagles, Fleetwood Mac. So I grew up just having this thing implanted in my head even before I knew it, And then one day I was watching TV and MTV was on. We just had kind of satellite TV fitted for the very first time in like kind of the mid-90s or whatever. And it was like, oh my God, this is cool. Like loads of channels. And we put on MTV and a Sandman came on. And that was it. I was just hooked, man. I don't know what it was. It was something about the sound. It was something about the visuals of the video and how cool James looked. He like grimaced it and it just looked badass, And I was like, damn, this is it, And then that was it. I was hooked, man. And I just went on this musical journey, You know, the first album I ever bought was Metallica's Black Album when I was like 14 years old or something. And that was it. I've never looked back, you know, I was hooked, man. So I did all the Metallica albums in reverse. I started with Black Album, Justice for Puppets and blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of picked up a guitar, saved up some money, managed to get myself a guitar, and I just sat down and I just learned everything that I could by ear of those Metallica records. And that's how I learned to play guitar, you know. And as things progressed, then I got introduced to more heavy stuff. Like there was a show that used to be played called Headbangers Ball. I'm sure you know.
That was one of the Warwick. I remember that one.
That was my like every week I'd wait Sunday night to watch Headbangers Ball. I just kind of got introduced to all these kind of heavier, more intense bands, like the ones we touched upon before, like Machine Head and Pantera and stuff like that, you know, Sepultura, and it's just like, fuck. And that was it, man. It was just off on my journey, and then it snowballed, you know, and it just kind of took over my life, you know. All I wanted to do was play guitar. All I wanted to do was start a band with my friends. It was never about like becoming famous, and yeah, it was just more about I just loved it so much that all my time I just put into learning guitar and trying to create music with my friends, you know. And so that was it, really. It's all Metallica's fault.
So thanks to Metallica, we have Bullet for My Valentine. So let's jump from the past into the present. Because you got great arrangements on the Bullet for My Valentine record. How can our readers, all listeners from Guitar Magazine, can expect you build up your songs? Is it first a written guitar part, and then the others jump in with bass parts and lead guitars and drums, or do you have kind of guideline demos before you present a song to your band?
Yeah, we usually we all write individually, but it's better when there's at least a couple of us together, because then you can bounce off each other, and it's a bit more interactive and a bit more kind of fun, and there's a bit more energy in the room. There's multiple people there, so. But yeah, usually it's all guitar based. Just writing riffs, just writing chord structures, and then coming up with melodies and ideas to layer it, you know. And then we'll get into a studio and just start putting it down. There's no rule book. It's, you know, we just go with it, with what's instinctive. And you know, being a guitar player way before I was ever a vocalist, you know, is just something that I find natural, and something that yeah, that's how we do it. We're musicians, and that's how we do it. We like to write music, and then we'll just build and experiment, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, there's nothing is off limits, you know. Even though someone might suggest something, it's just kind of an idea. We're just like, that's weird. You know, when you put it down, you play it back. It's like you know, sometimes it can really be a magic moment. So it's not being afraid to fail writing music, I think, is a really cool thing to have. You know, and not be afraid to kind of experiment and push the boundaries and just do different things, you know. We always have a formula of what we want it to sound like, but you know, nothing is off limits creatively, you know?
So of course we have to talk about the guitars you used on Bullet for My Valentine. So in recent years, we see you mainly with Gibson guitars. Which guitars do we hear on this record?
There's multiple on this record. The main rhythm tracking was done with a new Gibson Explorer Custom, which I got last year. Managed to get the Gibson guys to make me one, and they factory fitted it with EMG 8185 combo. So it's a snarly, nasty guitar, you know, loads of low end, loads of mid, loads of punch. So that was the main rhythm tracking guitar. We also used a year 2000 Gibson SG Custom as well, which has just the craziest tone on it. It's EMG fitted as well, but it had a lot more like scratchy, like raw tone to it than the Explorer. So for like the middle section of Knives, for example, that guitar was used for that one part, just because it's just sounds dirty, you know. It's just got a really nasty tone about it. So whenever we wanted something a bit smoother and a bit more kind of, I don't know, like a normal metal tone, we used the Explorer, and anything else we wanted to kind of tip it over the edge to give it that dirtier, you know, almost Slipknot nasty guitar tone, we kind of used an SG for that. And Padge did all the solos with a Les Paul Custom that I have, that I'd used on Venom and Gravity, and there was another Les Paul Classic Premium Plus that we used for some of the kind of dirty clean tones on some of the songs and stuff like that. So there's a few things that we used, all really pretty high-end stuff. But we've been very fortunate to kind of accumulate a lot of cool shit over the years, which we only ever bring out into the studio, really. So that was fun. It was nice to bring them out of the cases. We haven't brought them out for a while,
So of course the obvious question, when you are working with the guys from Gibson and they build you an Explorer and stuff, I think there's something in the pipeline signature wise for you, or?
Yeah, man. I'd love nothing more than for that. It's always cool when a guitar company wants to do something special for you. I mean, it's like, that's kind of the dream when you're a kid growing up playing guitar, and you see all these kind of larger than life rock star heroes, like these gods on stage, and they've got these sick guitars. It's not something I ever thought I would be able to achieve. I was just happy to buy any old cheap guitar to play. But over the years I've been very greatly appreciated anything that's been given my way, from my custom Jacksons to my BC Riches, now some Gibson stuff. And yeah, man, it's great. There's no better kind of compliment than when a guitar company wants to do something with you. That's a good sign, man. So yeah, I'm extremely grateful for everything that I've been given over the years. It's cool.
Absolutely. So my thumbs are crossed, that there's somewhere in the future a Gibson.
Absolutely, man. I'm down.
From you, man.
They want to do something special.
Yeah.
I am. That would be mega. I'd be super stoked with that.
Perhaps the MT Explorer or something like this.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's get it going.
Okay. Another Gibson, we see in the recent years massively with you on stage or music videos. It's this limited Kirk Hammett Flying V edition. What's for you the special thing about this guitar that you bought not only one but two of this model at once?
Well spotted. They are a Kirk Hammett limited edition kind of special run, but initially it was just the look. I just like the kind of the worn, kind of road worn custom, because they're all just done by hand. They're not really like old or anything, so. It was just the aesthetic of it. I thought the aesthetic was just right on my street. I like to play classic looking guitars. I like the custom kind of rock metal shapes, like Flying V's, Explorers, Randy Rhoads, kind of Jacksons and stuff like that. I've just always been a sucker for something a little bit more rock and roll,
Mm-hmm.
So I just found a couple that were for sale. I actually got them off eBay, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, man. I found two from the same place in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I got them ridiculously cheap because, we had a look online. My guitar tech had a look online about a year ago, and they're going for ridiculous money now, So that's kind of was the thought about maybe we should put these into retirement and look after them a little bit better than sticking them on a plane every 5 minutes and like throwing them around on stage. So they've gone into retirement now. But yeah, they're just lovely guitars. They're so comfortable to play. They're not the nicest sounding guitars. They're very light. They're not like, there's not super solid wood. They're kind of a rough and ready guitar. But with Kemper profiling on stage and a good sound guy, you can get great tones out of them. It's great. It was just more the playability and the comfort of that guitar. It's just always, as soon as I put it on, it felt like it was part of me. I didn't feel like there was anything about it which was kind of obstructing my playing or the way I want to stand or the way I want to sing. It just felt like so comfortable, and that's kind of why I stuck with it, really, because it was just, I don't know, they look sick, and for playing, I've never played a more comfortable guitar.
You just mentioned your campers, but before we go to your amp section, we have to talk about your first proper guitar. This was kind of if my informations are right, a US made Jackson Randy Rhoads. But it got Seymour Duncans in it. This normal thing. What you get at the US Select Randy Rhoads guitar. But what led you then going from this passive pickups to the active EMGs?
It was just a bit more bite, a bit more kind of an aggressive tone. You can get like sick aggressive tones with passive pickups, not a problem. You just have to work things a bit harder with your gains and your EQs and stuff. But it was just something that was introduced to me by Colin Richardson, who we did the first EP in The Poison with. The producer did that, and he had recorded Burn My Eyes by Machine Head and Demanufacture by Fear Factory, and all these fucking like crazy kind of good Roadrunner bands back in the day, you know what I mean? And so he just kind of said, you need to try getting a guitar with EMG pickups, So I just, out of his recommendation, I did. And it was like, yeah, Yeah, I get it. It's just way more aggressive, way more kind of mid-range and top end, and they just suits the style of the band, And so yeah, just went from the passives to the actives purely just for a bit more kind of aggressive tone.
It was like Rob Flynn, I think, from Machine Head back in the day with his record. He played a Gibson Flying V with EMGs. I think this was a skier, or
yeah, I think him and Logan were both rocking V's back in the day, and yeah, I think working with Colin Richardson was amazing. That's kind of why we picked him to do those first couple of records, because we just wanted it to sound like Burn My Eyes so badly, Obviously a very different band to Machine Head, but we kind of, that's the tone we wanted. We wanted that aggressive tone. We wanted that big live, heavy, cavernous drum sound and stuff like that. So Burn My Eyes, very special record for me, that one, in a lot of ways. Musically, it kind of hooked us up with Colin. And yeah, so very, very cool.
All right, a great story. So let's go to your amps, because I think the time is running up. You're down to earth guy when it comes down to amps, because we mainly see you with a PV 6505 and a Diesel VH4, and of course, like in a live situation, your campers. Is there any new equipment now added for the Bullet for My Valentine record, or is it just the same amps that we know and love?
Yeah, it's just the same. That we did the last two records, Venom and Gravity. We actually just used camper profiling. This time around, because we knew that having demoed the record, we knew what we wanted it to sound like. We just wanted a bit more of and natural isn't the right word, because camper sounds natural. We just wanted a bit more of a traditional way of recording the guitars, just to see if it would enhance the tone, the way I played, interacting with a cabinet and stuff. So yeah, we used the main guitar tones you hear on this new record are Diesel VH4s. Padge did the soloing on this. It was a 6505 and a Soldano for the leads.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we always tried to kind of mix up the lead and the rhythms, get a different tone and stuff like that. So yeah, there's nothing too complicated. We haven't acquired new amps for many years. The Diesels that I have were the last piece of more analog traditional equipment that we ever bought. That was back in about 2012, 13. But we have a lot of cool shit in our lockup. Lots of amps, lots of cabinets, and the camper stuff these days is phenomenal. I don't think we'll ever go back to using amps on stage. It just feels like just a ball ache for the crew, for the sound guys, for everyone. It just makes life so much easier for everyone, and no one can tell. The profiles you can have and you can do yourself, and there's infinite tweakability as well with like all the EQs and more gain and pick attack you can add. It's just crazy. So I don't think we'll ever go back to it live, but for the record, we just wanted to take it back to a more traditional way of recording heavy guitars.
Yeah, with his profiles for live concerts, you can put your whole sound, the whole rig in such a small box. I think that's cool, and it saves you money. You don't have to have this massive backline to carry around.
Yeah, man, it just makes life easy in every single way, like logistically, because if you're a purist and you're in a band guitar player, you want to take what you want to take every night. If you're traveling between 3 or 4 countries a night through Europe, or you're going from play in London, then the next day you have to fly to New Zealand for a New Zealand Australia tour. You can't take them. The power doesn't work because there's different power. They're fragile, they're heavy, so it costs a fortune. So it kind of has revolutionized the way the bands tour, for sure, man. It's in a really positive way. You get the same tone every night. You can travel with it with ease. The sound on stage is cleaner for the front of house guy, because he's not getting any spill from all the cabinets into your microphones. So it's been a revolutionary thing for us, and for most touring bands are on campers now. There's some that won't do it, and I get it, but yeah, they're great. I don't think we'll ever go back.
It's kind of the Swiss Army knife for touring musicians, I think.
Really is, man. It's great. They're fantastic, and yeah, you can, like I said, you can take an arsenal of rigs with you, which you could never do before, and you can just switch between them effortlessly and seamlessly every night. And it just makes life easy for everyone,
So if I take a look at your pedal board, we know before this recording, it was always kind of down to earth too. There were just a few pedals, and when I hear your sound, it was just for me, so it cannot only be a guitar, an amp, you know, and a few of those pedals just for tuning, for example, on the Digitech drop tuner and stuff. What's really special thing to not overload your pedal board, just to go with a few assorted pedals?
Yeah, you know, we don't overcomplicate the guitar tones, man. We just, you know, with the equipment we're using, you should be able to get something pretty savage quite quickly and without any hassle. You know, like be using 6505s or VH4 diesels. It's like you're going to get a sick tone with nothing. You know, the only thing you're going to need is a couple of noise suppressors just to take the noise off at high volume and stuff like that. And that's kind of what we've always done. We haven't overcomplicated it. You know, we've kept it quite pure. A lot of the tone as well is in these guys. You know, it's in the hands, man. Yeah. Like when Padge plays my rig, doesn't sound like my rig at all. You know, it sounds completely different. So, you know, a lot of the tone that you're getting from an amp or a guitar is coming from your hands, you know. So yeah, it's yeah, I think people don't understand that, you know. You can't just have the same rig and expect it to sound like it. You know, it kind of will. Basically it will sound kind of the same, but you know, a lot of the tone and a lot of the character which comes out in my playing, you know, and everyone's guitar playing is always in the hands, you know. So
that's an absolute good advice for young guitar players, because a lot of kids say, hey, I need this guitar, I need this amp, I need this pedals to sound like that, and I always say to them, hey, you should sound like yourself, because you will always sound like yourself. And
yeah, exactly. So it's always good to have
this is your statement now.
Yeah, I think it's great when musicians have an identity, you know, and it's like, you know, a lot of people won't think about it unless you're a musician, but you know, like I said, you could, like, you know, players like Dimebag, for example.
Yeah.
Like the first note on any, it's like he's unmistakably him, and it's like how is that possible? But it's just because of his playing, you know. It's not really the equipment he's using. Yes, he has a tone that he would always have, you know, and it's like it's very much kind of, you know, catered to him, but a lot of the time you're not actually listening to the tone. Then when you're listening to a player like that, you're actually hearing their soul coming out through their hands, you know. It's like, it's an incredible talent to have, you know. A lot of guitar players have that, and yeah, so I don't think young guitarists who are getting into it should really focus on trying to sound like anyone else, you know. You should just kind of learn it, and you know, with hard work and a lot of creativity, you know, your identity will at some point shine through, and that's what you want. That's more important than ever, really. You know, have an identity as a guitar player and a drummer, and any musician, really. You know, like, you know, like even like a drummer like Joey Jordison, for example, you would always know when it was Slipknot or when Joey was playing in a band. You know, it's just like unmistakably his identity. You know, and that's kind of something I've always tried to achieve. It's like that I want to sound like me. I want people to know it's Matt Tuck playing a guitar. Like, even if they don't know it's a Bullet song, you know. And I think that's a really cool thing to strive for, is identity in music, you know. I think it's pretty cool.
I think you explained it really, really well, because, you know, when you crashed in the metal scene back then, you know, literally there was a lot of stuff and a lot of playing styles, you know, and you made your own sound, you know, where people can identify you. Talking about sound, we of course have to talk about your headlining gig at Download Pilot, because it was one of the first big gigs in the UK, and of course, you know, in the rest of the old world. What was it for you, you know, when you entered the stage after kind of a 19 months layoff?
It was a lot of mixed emotions, actually. You know, it was I haven't felt genuine nerves for a long time playing a show. You know, we've been around a long time now. We've played a lot of shows, so you kind of just take it in your stride, you know, and it just becomes another show. You know, you're always excited and looking forward to it. But this one, it definitely was like, took me back a long time ago, when it was like, it felt special. It felt important as well, really important. You know, it was almost like we were part of kickstarting the live music industry in our world, in rock and metal. And that was fun, you know. It was like, we felt like not a responsibility, but like a duty to like fucking destroy it, you know. So yeah, it was, you know, we were honored to be asked to headline that festival. We debuted Knives, the live debut of Knives, the first time. It only came out like 3 days before. And yeah, it was good, man. It was nerves, there was anxiety, but there was also like excitement and like just I don't know, just happy times, man. It was the whole vibe of that show was quite different to any other festival we've ever played. I think it was a real kind of realization for all the bands, all the festival organizers, and definitely all the crowd that, you know, live music events, and especially something like that, are so special, and we always take it for granted, you know. And I think this time around, people have really kind of understood how much live music means to a lot of people, and how much we all are the same family, and we all need each other, you know. And it was just really good, man. It was by far the most enjoyable, and if not the most memorable kind of festival experience we've ever played. So it was a really special night, man. You know, it's hard to explain it if you weren't there, but it was just just pure joy and celebration of like being back on stage, and the crowd being there with us and screaming all the way. It was a pretty special moment, you know. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I've just seen some videos filmed out of the crowd with smartphones, and it was kind of, you know, there was something special in the air, like you said it right now.
Yeah, you could feel it. You could feel it in the air. There was just energy, man. It was just energy and joy. Just like that's the best way to describe it. It was joyful, which is a weird word to describe for a metal festival, you know. But it was just pure joy. Everyone had the best time. Everyone was like, it was just like a huge unification again of music and music fans, and just, you know, it just goes to show how important it really is to the world. You know, live music is so important, and, you know, we need to get it back sooner rather than later, you know, because, you know, people are struggling, and this is one thing which can help relieve that, you know.
All right, to wrap it up, I got a kind of a history question for you, because it's a look into the future, but also in the past. In 4 years, the Poison turns 20. You got this big celebration, you know, 20 years. Well, for my Valentine as recording artist. So if the then 45-year-old Matt would meet the 25-year-old Matt from the Poison, who just finished the recording of the Poison, what would it be a conversation between these two Matts?
Damn. It's 20 years.
Yeah, it's 20 years in 4 years.
Jesus, that is frightening. That is really frightening, dude. Jesus. Okay.
On the other side, great, because you're here and got 7 albums right now on the shelves, and perhaps 8.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I would just kind of reinforce how I felt back then, because it's still how I feel now. Just stay true to yourself, man. You know, try not to write music for anyone else other than yourself, and just enjoy the experience. Because all of a sudden 20 years is going to go by and you won't even know it. You know? So yeah, I think it's good, man. I think, again, not to kind of dwell on the COVID thing, but it really has kind of given us kind of a new outlook on what we do, and just how fucking cool it is. Absolutely. You know, we're just taking it for granted for so long, just because it's been such a everyday occurrence for a long, long time, you know. And, you know, it really has made us kind of pay attention to how lucky we are, how privileged we are, and how kind of cool it is to kind of do what we do, you know. So I think from now on, you're going to see a far more creative, positive, energetic Bullet, you know. And I think that's why the album sounds like it does. I don't think it's a coincidence, you know. I think it's all linked somehow. So yeah, so, you know, we're feeling good. The album's good. We're super proud of it, and you know, we just hope people dig it as much as we do, man.
This was a great last word for this guitar podcaster, Matt. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Good luck with Bullet for my Valentine. And of course, we want to see you guys back over here in Germany soon, better sooner than later. And, you know, thanks for making music and in such a kick-ass record.
Yeah, man, we cannot wait to come back. You know, we've got a tour on sale now, actually, for Europe. There's a bunch of German shows and stuff in there. So, you know, if people want to come and see us, we're coming. We're on our way. It won't be too much longer, you know. So we'll be back there in February. You know, and fingers crossed it all works out and it can go ahead. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. So thank you everyone for all the support and all the love over the years, man. And we hope you enjoy this new record. We're super proud of it, so we hope you love it.
Powered by Early Ball, the colors of rock and roll.